In Marvel Rivals, there's 3 types of players in this game: support players, tank players, and DPS players. Nobody talks about flex players, but today I am going to talk about these players and why they are a problem in this game. Also, I'm not talking about every flex player obviously that's out there, and if you see most of my videos about tank players, support players, and DPS players, this also applies to them. And if it does sound like I'm generalizing them or I'm talking about the majority of these players, I'm really just talking about the average player, and they might have one of these 2 things that make them these type of players. But before we really get into it, we first gotta understand why people don't recognize flex players to even be a problem. Because if you're watching this video, you're probably thinking to yourself, how are flex players even considered a problem? You know, from your perspective, they're the ones flexing for the team. They're filling in roles most people don't even want to play to begin with. They're making your match more winnable. They're making it less miserable. Not only that, if your team needs triple tank or triple support, or even triple DPS, they can fill in that role. They're always willing enough to swap. They're always seen as a net positive for your team. But this is why people don't recognize flex players as a problem and actually see them as a net positive. Is because without knowing it, flex players aren't playing as a team. They're actually accommodating to the average Marvel Rivals player, and the average Marvel Rivals player is just selfish. They just want to play however they want to play. Doesn't matter if they're good, doesn't matter if they're bad. They just want to be accommodated to. And you really see this if you play Marvel Rivals on a daily basis. No, not even if you don't play as a daily basis. You see this if you play this game a couple of times. Because ask a support player to get off support and go tank with you, they're gonna be like, oh no. But if you go support and bubble them, they're gonna see you as a good player. Especially if you wanted to play another role and you're just filling for the team, you're just filling in for tank, they're gonna see you as a good player. Not because they value you as a team player, but because you're playing in a way that makes their playtime more enjoyable. Or let's say you're a DPS player and you want someone to pocket you, and you're a flex player, you'd be like, you know what, I'll pocket for you. They're not thinking to themselves, oh, this player is playing as a team player. He's helping out the team in a good way. They just see, well, he's just making my time more easier. He's making my matches more enjoyable. He's making it less stressful. But that's the thing. You're just accommodating. You're just pandering to people's garbage play styles and Marvel Rivals. It doesn't even matter if you realize it or not. But that's why most people don't recognize flex players as a problem and actually see them as a good thing. All right, now we're actually going to talk about why flex players are a problem. And this is probably the whole reason why you came to this video. And the first reason is that they suffer from the same thing that every player in Marvel Rivals, especially all the videos I made about Marvel Rival players, is that they don't like taking accountability and they actually like hiding behind the fact of something. For example, support players like to hide behind the fact that they're supports and from their healing stat. So if they do bad, well, you can't look at me, my healing stat was high. Or you can't look at me, I would just support. I'm just more in that secondary healer role. For DPS players, it would be their finals. So basically, let's say a DPS player drops like 30 finals and your team still lost. They'd be like, you can't look at me, I got 30 finals. Can you really blame me? Look at everyone else, they were doing that fault. And for tank players, it would be how many team fights they initiated or how many times they died. Be like, see, I wasn't getting any heals and I was frontlining and nobody was healing me. But the thing about it is, when you get players like this that like to hide behind certain things about themselves, like, oh, I'm the flex player, you can't look at me because I'm accommodating to a role nobody even wants to play. If it wasn't for me, nobody would even have heals or even a front line. But that's the thing, once you get these type of players, they don't evolve, they just become stagnant. Their whole purpose is just to do whatever they want because they feel like no one can say anything bad about them. It's like if you get a smurf on your team, like, bro, my team is trash, even though I got like 50 finals, we still lost, my team is trash. They like to hide behind the fact of something that can show them that they weren't the problem. If you made it this far and actually agree with what I'm saying, maybe consider subscribing. My second point is going to go hand in hand with my first point, is that besides, flex players avoiding accountability, another thing they like to avoid is being a good team player. And in your perspective, you might see that, oh, they're filling in a role nobody wants to play, so they're obviously a team player. But the thing is, they suck at being a team player, if that makes sense. Because let's say they're going another DPS, let's say they're going support or they're going tank, and someone's leading the charge. So let's say they're the second tank and the first tank is initiating the team fight. The moment team fight starts going bad, the moment something goes bad, they like to back out. They're the first ones to back out. They're the first ones to disengage. They're the first one to just back out in any fight, any initiation, anything involving teamwork. And to really understand why flex players do this is that every player in every role does this inherently. Nobody likes to be seen as the bad player. Everyone wants to be the good player. So what they do, they cling on to a stat to show that they're not bad. What support players is their healing stat. So if they get their healing stat really high and they have their death count really low, it shows that they're a good player. But the same logic applies to flex players. And the only reason why this is bad is because their method of becoming a good player is just focusing on stats. And if you're a good Marvel Rivals player or even if you're not a good one, you know that stats aren't a good indicator that you're a good player. But these players like to believe that stats are a good indicator that you're a good player. So this also applies to flex players. Flex players also do the same thing as many Marvel Rivals players do, which is focus stats, because that's a good indicator that they're doing good, but that's only scratching the surface, and that's only not really explaining the full details. When you have someone just has a very rigid and stupid way of trying to prove that they're actually a good player, or prove that they're playing this game the right way by focusing on their stats, they end up just solely tunnel vision on their stats. So instead of, committing to risky plays, variables that aren't unknown, basically, like I said, risky plays, you can't control those variables at all. So when you can't control them, you have a high chance of being considered a bad player. Because every time you're diving, there's a good chance you might just get picked off like nothing. And that's what these flex players don't like to do. They don't like to be that. They don't want to be the center of, you know what, I'm getting picked off and I'm not being good. I need to be a team player. What's the best way to be a team player? Is to get the least amount of depths, do my healing stat, but the moment it comes to unknown variables that might lead them to have bad stats, that might lead them to not be a good team player, they're the ones that first chicken out and basically just disengage. And that's a big problem, especially if you're not a flex player and you have a flex player on your team. When you have these players on your team, you basically end up losing team fights because of this. This is why you guys can't win points. This is why you guys can't, why you're so stagnant, why you're so stalemate with the other enemy team, because no one wants to make that risky plays. Nobody wants to be that. But on paper, they look like they are a team player because they're either running mag, strange, they're healing, maybe they're throwing a little bit of damage out there, but they're not doing anything crazy because so many variables are coming up that they just can't control. And if they can't control or can't predict it, it runs high risk of being a bad player. And my last and third point is not really going to be like an analysis. It's more really going to be my rant style at this point. And that's going to be like my personal opinion, is that I'd rather have a player that's not a flex player than someone pretending to be a flex player, or just having a flex player to begin with. Because more often than not, when I get a flex player, they usually end up being bad. And like I said, their methods of trying to be a team player are so rigid, so bad, they're not that good. Like, I will have someone flexing as a gambit, someone flexing as a tank, someone flexing as another DPS, and when I see them perform, they're just so bad at it. Like, they don't have the intuition of a DPS player of trying to initiate dives, trying to get pokes, trying to get more damage off, trying to get eliminations. Or when they're playing support, they like to play so far back like every other support, never try to risk dying, try to be a good team player. Like, it's just so, it's not good. It's not required when it needs to win. You need players to make plays. You need people to be on the same board, people that are actually willing enough to risk it all just to win. And when you have a player like that on your team, it ends up being a bad thing. Obviously, I'm not talking about every flex player. Some flex players that flex actually know how to play every role effectively and know how to take risk. But for me, I prefer having a triple DPS players on my team than have them filling as a support or tank. And another issue, what I see with this is that, let's say someone is playing support, even though they're a dedicated DPS player. The moment they're playing support, they're not going to be healing you. They're not going to be in the back of the line trying to look at everyone, trying to make sure everyone's healed. They're going to be focused on just finals because that's what they're used to. You think they're actually going to be a team player? And their excuse is, well, I'm feeling no one wants to play, so I'm just going to, even though my healing stat's bad and my finals are pretty high, doesn't matter. I'm still playing a role nobody wants to play. And I think that's probably my main argument, as even if Marvel Rivals were to add role queue, a lot of the people that don't even like to play support or tank will be queuing up support and tank just because the queue times will be long for DPS. Also, from personal experience, most flex players like to take on being a moral high ground, because you know what? I'm the flex player. I'm the one doing the teamwork. I'm like, buddy, you're garbage at the game. Like, I don't know what these players think they are. Where they'd be like, well, they get on comms and they'd be like, yeah, you're doing bad. I'm like, and you try to say anything like, buddy, I'm flexing for the team, so that means I'm actually good at the game. That means you're not being a team player, and I can call it out, and I have the right a passage to speak, because you're obviously a selfish DPS player that just wants to lock in DPS and throw in my matches. I'm like, what? What are these people saying? And you know what's crazy? Once you get into higher ranks, let's say if anyone here is in GM or even Diamond, once you realize like, oh, I don't care if this dude is flexing tank, I don't care if this dude is flexing support or flexing DPS. If they're trash, I'm gonna call them out for being trash. I don't care if they're running, I don't care if they're doing the team a favor. They're bad at the game. There's so many times when someone will be like, all right, guys, and no one wants to go tank, I'll go tank. And you get all those support players just glazing them, be like, oh my god, thank you for going mag and bubbling us. That's what we really need a tank. And then they end up just doing the most basic tank thing ever. But that's the thing, like I said, they like to do the most basic thing ever just for they don't be seen like as a bad guy. So they basically have two things going for them. They're flexing and they're not doing that bad when they're flexing. But the thing about it is any good player, like I said, once you're in Diamond, GM, or Celestial, once you see these flex players, like just because you're flexing doesn't mean it basically dissolves you of any accountability. You realize like, yo, some of them are just garbage. And the thing about it is that if you try to call them out, they end up becoming like, they try to use what they're doing to hide behind the fact that they're bad at the game. Like, I would rather prefer a Smurf on my team that's overly toxic than having a flex player that thinks they're better than everyone just because they're flexing. And yeah, I think that's my like personal opinion and my personal takes on this game. I'm really more like it's more like a rant, not really like an analysis of what I see and trying to make people understand. But it is kind of like what I think when it comes to these flex players. Not all of them. Some flex players, like I said, they actually know how to play. They're pretty good at it. But yeah,